Welcome to the Chatting Chakras podcast, where we get our inspiration from chakras, yoga, art, and sacred space of friends. Here's your hosts ready to rock the rainbow with you, Christina Alexa, Lani Voivod, and Kate LeMay.
Good day, everybody. Welcome to our next episode of Chatting Chakras. I, Kate LeMay, am here today with my two dear friends. Dear friends, will you introduce yourselves?
Yes, I am Lani Boom Boom Voivod.
Christina Alexa. No title today.
No title.
No title. I'm gonna be open to the powers that be. Let's see what happens.
Mine before, prior to getting on the call, Christina became attentive to costumes. Kate LeMay, attentive to costumes.
Kate LeMay, attentive to costumes. Yes. Very nice.
Well, welcome, ladies. Today, we are going to talk about the image abundance, which it looks like said, and I will read it for us this fine morning. Abundance. This is an image of a jar filled to the brim with large rocks, small pebbles, grains of sand, and water. Everything fits perfectly if you put the large rocks in first, but not if you start with a full jar of water. Abundance is being full of what you desire. There is more than enough and room for everything. Be clear about your big rocks. And the mantra is, there is room for everything I desire. So I love this painting. It's a fan favorite. And I think it is I just love this way of thinking about abundance. So just as I read that, did you have any initial thoughts sort of about your take? This is abundance. Normally, when I sell this one, it's because people are looking for money. Usually they're looking for abundance and money. Not often are they people, having clarity around abundance of other things. And I think this painting lends itself to a really kind of fun way of looking about abundance. So curious if either one of you have any thoughts to get us started today.
I have a whole lot of thoughts if you'd like to hear them.
Great.
I figure there's no better place than Chatting Chakras podcast to share my thoughts on your painting of abundance. So one of the things that comes to mind is I do think this is one of your most popular, even visually, before people know what they're looking at. I know personally one of my goals in life is to have a gigantic version of this somewhere. I love orange, and this one, not only so it's visually, like aesthetically incredibly pleasing and fun, it's also, when you connect it to the meaning, it's one of the most practical. I feel like this is one of the most practical concepts. We encountered it so many times in different, I don't know if it was Wayne Dyer or who first, Eckhart Tolle or what, I don't remember who, but that big rock theory is, or example, is so clean and easy and easy to understand. I've seen this on stage now so many times where you put the water, you put the water in the water's at the end. So you can just see it and understand it very easily, that you have got to prioritize what you put in first. Otherwise you can't fill it as much in. So as an element of conscious creation, this is practical conscious creation. And you have shown it so beautifully in your art. I love, what I also love is the mantra. So abundance is not like, I welcome more stuff into my life. It's so careful with your intention here. There is room for everything I desire, which invites you to understand abundance as a co-creative teamwork, a collaboration with the universe. You have got to show up, realize what you want, really get excited about learning what brings you the sensation of abundance, you know, what is important in your life. And if you are willing to show up for yourself and for your life and connect with who you are and what you genuinely desire, that is where the magic sauce of life happens. Otherwise, it's just everyone else's priorities, and you're lost in the shuffle of your own existence. And that is sad and not abundant.
Right. Yeah. That's so well said, Lani. You know,
Well,
go ahead.
Oh no, I'm so lame. What I wanted to say is I've been waiting to, instead of finger maracas, pinky maracas, instead of the pinky maracas, is like that and that. Let me go back. And that is abundance.
Oh my God. For those of you that are listening and not watching, Lani just shook her booty.
No,
Well,
she's
I
got a
have
belly
my-
dance skirt
I
on.
have
Belly
my
dance skirt on. That's orange.
Stain on my shirt.
Stunning.
So I was like,
We
oh
didn't
no.
see that. It's okay. Nobody saw that.
We all should have worn belly dance skirts.
No.
Darn.
Sorry. You
Oh,
can
I
only
have
do
my-
that surprise once.
Attentive to costumes. It's the costume episode. Where is
Yeah.
it? I don't even know where mine is.
You know what? Oliver dug out my old tutu from the Live and Love retreat out of the closet this morning.
Nice.
It's like, oh, you found it. I should have worn
you
it.
worn it.
It was
That's
a
what I
sign.
figured. If ever there was an episode, abundance would be it, that I can be too much and put a rainbow belt on my head and the skirt. I was like, is this too much, Alan? It's abundant.
Perfect.
Oh, I knew this day would be better if I got to meet with you both. This is so good. That was great, Lani. I also want to talk to the place of priorities, and I love this painting as well. And it's so rich. It's delicious. The color is delicious, and it speaks to fulfillment right away. Second chakra, so Svadhisthana chakra, which is our sacral chakra. The abdominal area, the sacrum, the hips, the emotional juncture, right, of the body. And I think that if we step back, you know, what Lani's saying, go in instead of worry about everyone else. And we have the courage to feel what our own needs are, and not our needs based on, you know, false motivation or motivation to fulfill someone else's picture of our lives, but our own needs of our heart and our soul. So we can dive into second chakra, or just dive into that idea or that feeling experience of what are my true needs. We ignite courage, and that is all around the hara, right? And we have a direct line. We've opened the doorway and we're on a direct current to our personal guidance system. And so if we say, I have the courage to feel what my needs are for fulfillment of my heart and my soul, then immediately we open to our personal guidance system. And then we can hear how to fulfill those needs. And then we have the courage to say, okay, I hear it. Privately inside myself, I have the courage to hear and feel what I need for fulfillment. Can I take the steps to follow that personal guidance? Can I let myself be my own highest authority, or my higher self? And that's how I think we get to these big rocks. We get to these big rocks, and then everything else follows. It's no mistake that the water is last, like Lani said, right? Because that's the flow. I just want to tell this very quick story. It's very simple, because this is how I think it works. And I love the signs and signals in the world around us. I was driving up I told this story in yoga recently. I was driving up in Twin Mountain area and by myself recently. And I was thinking, in the present moment, I was having the realization, oh, this is going to be an abundant year for me on every level, on the level of my personal fulfillment of my heart and soul, all the way through to, yes, finances, everything. This is going to be an abundant year because I'm deciding it is so. And it was such a deep decision in the present moment that there was no room for doubt. And just as I was feeling that come through, I saw a beautiful big black bird, like a crow or a raven, flying alongside my car very close, and it was dragging like a big animal in its mouth, which is a sign of abundance whenever you see a bird with an animal. And I know that's kind of intense. It's like that part of nature. But it was such a clear sign right in that moment. I went, thank you. And then the next thing I remembered was in the days after that was, oh, we get challenged right away. As soon as we make a decision around something, around anything that is right for us in alignment with our truth, expect to get challenged. And what that does is that helps us to lock into our will and lock into our decision more concretely, because we can refuse that which is not that, right? So does that make sense? I had challenges come up immediately around, oh, do I want to spend too much money over here in distraction? Or do I want to ignore my own needs over here? And I had to immediately come back to center and say, nope, I remember my decision. And then it cleaned the pathway up. So I love this card too. I think it's really beautiful because it connects me to personal guidance.
I love stories like that are like where you have the universe just like quickly affirming and I just love how, Christina, your awareness around that when we make decisions that we are immediately challenged to help lock in the will, like that, I think is also a sweet nugget to take away from this section. Like right now we're in the current of manifestation, we're going down. Our next card will be red. This is orange, but that energy of moving that sacral decision up into will to lock in is, there's so much beautiful interplay that can help when we are in times of challenge, especially after having such clarity. Like, I just really love that for anyone that is experiencing that right now. It's such a beautiful reminder.
Yeah, and the sacral chakra is a feminine infused chakra, and I think the idea of abundance spills over to even how most women I know think and feel. We open our arms to more. We are naturally built to receive and to feel and to play and to engage these senses in an empowered way. What we maybe often need help with is showing up for ourselves. Showing up for ourselves, to connect with, to put ourselves first. Imagine putting ourselves first. Oh, how the world would change if we filled our own, if we became one of the big rocks that we put into our jars, right?
I think that's what this is about. I think that this is actually, when I did paint this painting, I had pretty rough finances in the moment, and I felt incredibly depleted, which is kind of a pattern of mine. I tend to strip all the way down to like, I can barely function because I haven't been putting my big rocks as a priority. And I think that the nod to this idea that it's our desires that can create the clarity about those rocks. And then I think that we have, it's not only, wouldn't it be nice if we put it first, like, watch what happens when you put this stuff first. Like, it actually, we think about, oh, I want to have all this abundance to what? To feel abundant? Isn't it the irony of all ironies? Like, oh, I need all this stuff to feel this way, when we say, well, why I want all this extraneous abundance. You think about abundance with, like, could be a house, a car, blah, 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 is like the typical way we think of abundance. Like, what would make me feel content inside, when truly the reason you want many of those external things, which, by the way, the irony is usually get them once we have the clarity inside of what they're for. So when we say, one of my most important rocks is taking care of my health, and I think of rocks as time, almost like, what am I giving my time to? Rocks could also be what I give my money toward, my energetic exchange toward. And that's how you can validate what's big in the jar and what's not. Like, it's really fascinating if you do sort of a time, like if you document your time or document your resource spending and look at it and be like, are these my big rocks? Like, am I actually spending this resource I have on the things that are the most important to me? And it will help you clarify, sort of with that certainty of decision, like, actually, no, I'm not spending my resources on the things that are actually the things that matter to me. I need to reprioritize these things. So that's my questions for this one are, always, it's been a while since I've asked myself, what are my big rocks? So I think it's time for that. And then the other question I had for myself is, how many big rocks is too many big rocks for me? And then what becomes pebbles and what becomes sand and what becomes, and the analogy I've heard, I'm sure you guys have heard this one before too. It's like the liquid at the end is that there's always time for a glass of wine or a cup of coffee or a tea with your friend, right? So like that stuff that really is the stuff you think you never have time for. Like when you put these other things as your prioritize, those things fit in seamlessly, you know? And then my last question to myself was, what defines a big rock? Like, I think what I meant by that is like, it probably needs to fulfill a certain thing in me, or be a sustaining rock. Like if it's going to be a big rock, it probably has to make it so that I feel a particular way in my world and my being and my skin suit and my core, and that's what the rock is doing. So those were just what I had as some questions.
I love that, Kate. Those questions are so key. Again, can we workshop this one card, and
I have an idea that's probably the next 10 years of our life, which is that these will all be workshops.
Yeah, these will all be workshops. Yeah, every single one unto itself. I mean, oh my God, how transformational would that be? But I hope that people who are listening got those questions. I'm going to repeat them, Kate, and tell me if I have this right. What are my big rocks?
Yep.
What are they? How many are too many for me? And I think the third one is, and what defines a big rock? Those are amazing questions. And I wanted to go back to something Lani said really quick, that the sacral chakra, the second chakra, Svadhisthana, is a feminine principle chakra. I'm so glad you brought that in, Lani, because we are, particularly as women, we're so accustomed to holding space there for everyone else, and we can get really drained. And then we look at what we're magnetizing to our lives. So if we're not motivated by our own fulfillment and truth, using the idea of giving ourselves permission, don't feel guilty for that, and that we deserve, to put the oxygen mask on first if the plane's going down, right? We need to fulfill ourselves first. Look at what we're magnetizing to ourselves and our lives when we're out of balance in that place, versus if we have chosen our big rocks carefully, first by saying, I'm worthy, I deserve this, it is okay for me to do this, it's safe for me to do this. And then start looking as we become more fulfilled at what we magnetize to ourselves. And then that goes to what you're saying, Kate, those other things that we wanted anyway start to flow in so naturally. So really backing up to this idea of this, this whole concept. And I think it is as simple as what you're saying. What are my big rocks,
And this mantra also, I feel like sometimes it triggers people because it's not a magical, like, just gonna believe in abundance and why can't I get it? Because it does require you to step up and discern what is important to you. People will fight, like there's a resistance, like there is room for everything I desire. We've seen it, like, no, there's not. I'm overwhelmed, can't do it. There's no, and it, rather than taking the breath, the almighty breath, creating some space for yourself and allowing a little bit of time to recognize and admit where there are spills. It does require letting go of things and changing up the rules of the game that most often you have set up, right?
You always have set up. There's no one else making the rules, right? Oh my gosh, yes, Lani.
Which, and and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention, like, underneath this beautiful orange, I always feel there's that layer of like the activating gratitude, everything I desire. Sometimes it's this one reminds me of awareness in a bigger way than others. When we are invited to choose what we desire and to really try to co-create with the universe about what we want in a life, we're also invited to open our eyes, heart, and attention to what already exists that we have not been noticing. And I think that is where abundance thrives, is in a boost of awareness. We overlook all this stuff. If it's not a pain point, we overlook it. We don't notice our gratitude for our health until we're in pain. We don't notice the people in our lives until we lose them. Like, we get into this hamster wheel of routine, and we don't realize that we are so rich in so many ways. Just, no matter what the bank account or these external measurements tell us about ourselves, that when we arrive with awareness, we usually have much more of what we love than we realize.
That's beautiful.
That's beautiful. Well, I feel like we just did a beautiful job, Lani. I love that ending, is to hit it with gratitude and awareness of gratitude of what are the things in our life when we are feeling lack, but then, that power of our own responsibility in discernment and desire, which can feel sometimes frustrating or make you angry, but the passion and fire that comes in our resistance to our own power in this area is at equal measure with the capacity for us to bring this into existence. And so I thank both of you for another gorgeous episode in this. This is for anyone who's a color geek, this is called Translucent Orange in the Schmecky line, and it is my favorite paint of all the paints. It's I think why I'm this kind of painter, because of this color. It's a really nice color. So thank you, and we will see everyone next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Find us on social media at The Chatting Chakra Show and at www.katelemay.com. Check back weekly for new episodes, where we are always celebrating enjoying the journey.